Hey there, Thencomeslove family. Last week we shared a very spicy topic when it comes to in-laws, and it sparked a desire for a deeper conversation.
Got some feedback, huh?
Yeah, we got some feedback,
Okay.
and so this time we're going to do part two, and we're going to call it conflict and in-laws.
And we're gonna talk about them daddies.
Let's talk about it.
Welcome to the Then Comes Love podcast. We're your hosts, the Butlers, Wendell and Anidra, and we are here today talking about love, talking about marriages, talking about in-laws. And for those of you who have been married, maybe you've been married for 6 months to a year, or maybe you've been married 25, 30 years, this might be the one for you. What to do, what not to do, what we did, what we shouldn't have done, and the whole nine. And so,
Yeah.
hey, we're not perfect, but maybe you can learn from some of the craziness that we did.
Yeah. We're talking about love. We're talking about life. We're talking about marriage, but we're going to talk about conflict.
Conflict.
And we talked. We hit on it a little bit when we're talking about conflict between you and I,
Sure.
and making sure we're fighting fair. So if you haven't looked at that episode, you might want to circle back to that.
Yeah.
But this, when we're talking about in-laws, that can be a little bit more complicated when we're talking about fighting fair. And I want to be we want to be very transparent by saying we are not going to lie to you, and the whole purpose of doing this podcast is to be real and to be raw and to share our real life experiences. And so we'll be transparent by saying, yes, we did, when we first got married, we had to walk through some conflict when
Sure.
it came to our parents. And even though we Wendell and I share our families share very similar, I mean, if not identical, beliefs, the same values, we believe the same thing. Although we share those things, our families are different.
Sure.
And just because they're different, that doesn't mean the way your family did things were bad, or my family did things that are bad. They were just different. Yeah. And so when we first got married, it was, although both of our families were great, they were different. And so we had to, in between my way and his way, there was our way. And we talked about that before. Yeah. But that raised some challenges for us. And so it took some hard conversations, and it took honesty, being honest about the situation, and compromise.
Okay, I think it also, when it comes to in-laws, I'll tell everybody this who I can talk to. When you get married and you're dealing with your parents, let's say I have a situation with my parents, and they're family. Sometimes they make you mad. Maybe my father, my mother, whoever, they say something and it makes me mad, and then I share with my spouse, right? So now we both mad. So I'm mad and she mad, right? But because they're my parents, I'm mad for a day. I get over it. It's fine. Let's move on. But she's still mad because that ain't her mom and daddy, and so she still feels some kind of way, and vice versa. Like, her parents could say something about how we do in the house or how I'm doing something, and we're mad. But I think what happens is we get over the offense faster than our spouse would. Do you think that's kind of?
I think that's accurate. Okay. I think it's accurate. I think so. What we're saying in all of this, we are acknowledging the fact that some of the most common conflicts that we face in our marriage can be our parents. It can be our parents. And so we don't want to set the expectation that you're not going to have any conflicts ever, because that's not accurate. So it is true that it can cause tension between the two of us because he's getting over, or I've gotten over, and he's still carrying it. But there's something about addressing conflict when it comes to our parents. And that is, number one, you want to create a space that your partner, your spouse, feels comfortable to speak up. And you might have some some insight to share about that. But it's important to create a space for your spouse to speak
Mm-hmm.
up. So if, let's say, I have an issue with something that um, his parents did or his family. It doesn't even have to be his mom or dad. It could be
Mm-hmm.
just something in the family, his brother or whatever did. I have to be willing to speak up. Now, if you're not willing to speak up, you can't be mad at your spouse for something that you're not willing to speak up about. And the opposite of that is, as the spouse who's receiving that feedback, you can't get defensive and get mad when they do share, because that means they'll never share again. So
Oh,
we have to create the space where we're both comfortable to say how we feel and be able to hear it. And it is going to be tricky because you're talking about people's family.
well,
So you got to make sure that when we're bringing this stuff up, that you are honoring their family before you start name calling or accusing people of doing something.
okay. Rule number one:
Mm-hmm.
when you're having your issue, please don't say your family don't do this, because at my
Mm-hmm.
family we do,
Mm-hmm.
as if
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the spouse's family does things wrong and
Mm-hmm.
your family does things right,
Mm-hmm.
because that's going to automatically, you said don't get defensive,
Yeah.
that's going to be automatic defense,
Mm-hmm.
because you acting like where I come from is crazy and where you come from is proper.
Mm-hmm.
And so naturally there's going to be defense.
Mm-hmm.
You're a team, so you're
Mm-hmm.
in this thing together.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, when we get married and we talk about, all right, we're one big family, we say it, but it's just growing pains trying to becoming one unit.
It is.
And so
It
it's
is.
it's it's, it's easier said than done.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is something that's difficult early in the marriage. As you
Mm-hmm.
through the years, you tend to get better. But I think it's a big thing when you first get married.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It is. I think for us, just being transparent, I had me personally, I had expectations of what I thought the relationship would be like. I had, I had expectations, and not to say that my expectations were wrong or not realistic, or the way that things turned out they were wrong or in any way. It's just I had expectations of what I thought it was going to be, and then when it didn't turn out that way, I got I'm going to say I got offended about things that were innocent, but because they were not what I expected, I thought it was, I'm going to say, I was just offended. I got offended by things. And this went on, and I'm not going to say that when there is conflict, that it is an easy thing to get through. This is not something, when you're talking about parents and people's family, this is not something that could happen overnight. Some issues can, some things might take time, and compromise. And so for us, when it was a longer journey than what we wanted or we anticipated. Didn't even think that it was going to be an issue for us at all, but it was. And there were just some things that needed to be addressed. And if I'm honest, if we can be honest for a minute, there were things that Wendell just would not speak on, he would not say. And so, as he'll probably share, he's very easygoing. He can let things roll off his back and all that stuff. For me, if I feel like there's an issue, I want to address it then. And until I feel it's addressed, I can't let it go until I feel like I've been heard and I've been seen. And so for him, it was like, it was like you kind of let it.
Oh, I like peace. You see, understand what I'm saying? I just like peace, and I'm just really easygoing. I'm really easygoing and chill, and sometimes that could be frustrating for some, but I just feel like anytime, you talked about creating a safe space to
Mm-hmm,
speak up.
mm-hmm.
Okay, fine, but man, you need to do it like all at once, because you just can't be having issues every day,
Yeah, yeah,
all
yeah.
day,
Mm-hmm,
every time,
mm-hmm,
because it's gonna just drive your partner's just nuts.
mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, that would be my main thing about that. It just seemed like it was always this ain't right, you ain't right, my family this, my family that. And I'm just like, and what it does and what it can do at some point, even if there's nothing wrong with your side of the family, I can find something wrong with it. And I can just get an attitude, I can get mad, and I'm like, I ain't going, I mean, I don't want to make it easy for you if it's not easy for me, and yada, yada, yada. It's called immaturity. Like I said, we got married very young.
Sure.
We were very, very, that's the first thing, we're very, 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 both sides, both of us are immature in dealing with this. But, yeah, I mean, just like anything else, in a husband and a wife relationship, you know, you're not single anymore. I got to consider her and everything. Same thing goes with the family. And just because you love her or I love her with all my heart, I really have to learn to love everything that comes with her. And yes, that does include the in-laws. Now, some of you don't like your in-laws. Let's just be. Some of you have problems with your in-laws.
Let's be
and it's
real.
like I don't need them. Yeah, you do. You do.
You do.
And I know you don't feel it right now, but that is a relation, because that is your parent at that point. You know, we say in-laws, but if the two really became one flesh and you're one body in Christ, that means that your family, her family is my family, and vice versa. So we have to make this thing work. We have to make it work. And that means maybe you might have to bite your tongue sometimes, or maybe, you know what I'm saying, you may have to do some things that you don't want to do. Like, you know, hey, if her mom, or what have you, asks me to do something, and it's the same thing as if she would have asked one of the girls, I can't get an attitude, you know, I got to learn how to be a part of this family. Though this is a family, but also our extended family. And so what you don't want to do is cause issues for your spouse because you have issues with their family.
I'm glad you said that, because I was hoping that we would go to the time that you finally said how it was making you feel. Like, this was years of me feeling frustrated about things, and it wasn't like anybody was doing anything wrong. I just felt like he was trying to keep the peace, and so he wouldn't comment on the things that I was feeling.
Okay.
And so I felt like, and I'm sure it's probably going on the same other side, but he finally shared with me how he felt. And I think that's important when we're talking about the safe space. For some reason, he felt like he could not tell me how it made him feel. And the moment that he finally was honest about, look, you're putting me in the middle, you're making me feel this way, and X, Y, and Z, it was finally like, I'm like, okay. It wasn't that you didn't care. It was just,
Well, one of the things
put you in a hard spot.
One of the things about myself that is a problem, and I need to fix, is I have the tendency to bury things, like how I feel. If I get upset, I don't always have to verbalize it. I can just bury it, forget it, don't worry about it. Problem with that is when the storms come, the stuff you have buried, sometimes that junk gets raised up to the surface, and it's a big muddy mess.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It comes out worse than what you wanted.
So for me, it's like it was just of years of walking on, even when I didn't have to, it was just walking on eggshells, making sure everything good, making sure, you know, make sure we're not mad, make sure, you know, we're going to be all right when we do this and that. And they're talking about years after the fact when it probably was okay, but I had gotten to a custom of having a ritual of making sure that folks won't go, you know, I don't know. It's just how it was. And then I'm sitting in here nervous, like, because like I told you, my people, we great people. And we're one tight unit. We joke, we play, we say things. But if you feel like you're on the outside and I joke you may feel it was a personal dig, when in actuality, we joking everybody.
Right.
And so nobody sees it like that but you. And they're like, you said, she said, and I said. And I'm like, that ain't like that. Yes, it is. And we going back and forth.
And that was an example.
An example of things. But, you know, yeah, I think, you know, it says time heals all wounds. And time does help.
Yeah.
But I think what happens is during the dating process, you're not dating his family, you dating him and her. You're spending time with them.
Yeah.
And you really don't, most people don't spend a lot of time. Now, there are some of you all who date and you spend a lot of time with the family. To you, kudos, that's great. But in in most people's situation, and especially in our situation, in the dating process, I spent all my time with the female side of the family.
With
And
my side.
yeah, you the female. I spent all my time. Very rarely did I, was at home. I was always at your house, and so there really wasn't a comfortability on your part when it came to.
We didn't even worry about that.
No,
We
no, no,
didn't
it
worry
wasn't
about
anything
that.
about-
It was never a conversation. It was not.
And I didn't notice that we weren't.
Yeah,
I
didn't
didn't
even
notice that we weren't. It was just.
Yeah, didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to know that we both have blind spots, and just because we did things a certain way, that doesn't mean that that was necessarily the right way. We all have blind spots. I we all have blind spots, and I think the compromising is where it comes is another part of this, is that you got to create the space to be able to speak up, but there has to be compromise. And the reason why I say that is because just because okay, let me back up. When we're dating, we think that, we talked about this last week, we think that we know what we want, and we think that we'll be okay with something until it actually happens. And then so let's say, for instance, you guys had a conversation of how you're going to do things when it comes to your families. You're like, okay, boom, we came to an agreement. But then when you get married and it happens, and you start get a little annoyed because it start to affect your finances, where I don't know how your spouse responds to something, the kids or whatever. Then you start to be like, I ain't cool with this anymore.
Yeah.
And so I want to say, just because you started something a certain way, that doesn't mean that it has to stay that way. So you got to compromise, and so you've got to be willing to say, this is affecting me, because if not, you'll become resentful toward your spouse.
Okay.
And so for me, it was important.
That's good. That's true.
It was important to say, okay, I thought I was going to be cool with this, but now that we're married, I ain't cool with this. I don't like the way I feel. I don't like the way this is turning out. And so you have to be comfortable to say. And so I was comfortable to say, but he wanted to keep the peace, so he kind of just didn't say anything, and I felt like he wasn't acknowledging how I felt, and nothing changed. And so I think it's important for you guys, and like we said, it doesn't mean the way we did things was the right way. There was a lot of immaturity. I would do things so different now. I love his family and vice versa. But there has to be compromise. So if you're doing something right now that you both are not in agreement with, your parents are going to pass away. They're going to die.
Oh, Lord.
At some point, unless we're going to be raptured up together. They're going to pass on. They've spent their years. They've enjoyed their life. But at the end of the day, it's going to be the two of you. And so if you sucking something up and you dealing with something and y'all not willing to compromise on something that's affecting your marriage, your parents going to leave, and what y'all going to have? Divorce? So you got to be able to talk about those hard things and compromise. Just because you're doing it a certain way right now, if your spouse does not agree with it, if they are bothered by it in any way, it is worth reevaluating.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, it's worth. You got to reevaluate.
There's nothing else I could really add to that. I mean, yeah.
Because we all have blind spots, and so I may be able to share something, how your family, a different perspective of how it makes me feel, and vice versa. And you can share a different perspective with my family.
So no, I won't. I'll say this. We talked about immaturity. So when she shares her feelings, and she says something about, let's say it's something like, I don't know, I'm hypothetical. I don't like the way y'all seating arrangement is, even though that's just petty.
Yeah.
Let's say she said something like that. If I look at her and say, "Girl, that is so dumb,"
Ooh, don't you dare!
now that don't make no sense.
Don't
That's
you dare
silly.
say that.
You being ridiculous. If I cannot discredit her opinion, no matter how small I think it is in my mind. I can't diminish how she feels.
Amen to that.
And so I think that is, or not even diminish it, or even disregard it like it's not important, or just, girl, whatever, you be all right. I can't do that, because that magnifies it. It makes it worse. And so I think that's one of the things
You got to acknowledge it.
in the early
Acknowledge your feelings,
stages.
yeah.
I was like, girl, it ain't that, and that's the end of it.
And see,
And
that's what ticked me off.
well, I mean, I'm just saying, but yeah, even if you really
Because
believe,
again, I'm your wife.
and again, even
I'm first.
babe, ain't nobody stop. Okay, you first.
I know. I'm not.
Golly.
But
All I'm saying is, there are times when, because you know it's not a big deal, and you don't perceive it as a big deal, and in your mind and in what you're thinking, how you see it's not a big deal. My point is, it may be a big deal to her,
right.
and so we have to acknowledge it.
And
That's all I'm saying.
and the reason why I said I'm first, it's not just, and we talked about this last week, it's not that just the wife is first, it's your spouse is first. That when we were talking last week, sure, when we were talking about a certain a certain situation when it comes to competing and all that stuff, your wife, we were saying that your wife is first, but really, it is your spouse. I should come first. He should come first. So, any disagreements we have, we should be anything that comes with anybody outside of our marriage, let's put it that way,
Yeah.
we are first. And so I want to kind of, the last thought that we want to kind of touch on here is, we talked about the man, the husband, being the leader of the home. And so if it comes to a disagreement that we have in regards to his family doing something I don't like, or my family doing something that he doesn't like, whatever the case may be, if the husband is the leader of the home, he is the one that has the final say on the decision. That's the way it is. And as the wife, we have to trust that he is thinking of us in his decision.
I'm just saying, if I had a time machine, because 20 years ago she would have been talking like that.
But it's true.
It is true.
It's true.
But yeah.
So you can express your concerns. So we talked about creating the safe space. You can express your concerns, and he has to be able to receive that without getting defensive or anything like that. And he should be able to share without you being defensive. So you should be able to share in a safe space. Then number 2 is, there should be compromise. There needs to be compromise. So in between your way and his way, there is a middle, and you guys have to find that middle. Now, if you can't find that middle, that's when you bring somebody else in to kind of help guide you through that conversation. But at the end of the day, it lies with him, because he's the leader of our home. We both work, we both contribute, but it's still up to him to make the final decision. And I have to trust that he's thinking about my feelings and my concerns when he makes those decisions.
Pressure.
Because you're supposed to love me like Christ.
Unconditionally, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and so I just think that's the bottom line. Create the safe space. Be honest about how you really feel. Don't be afraid to say how you feel, and don't become resentful, and compromise.
Okay.
And then the decision is up to you.
And I don't know if we covered this or not. I think we did cover it, but I want to go back to it because it's so important. When you're saying creating a safe space to speak up, it cannot be one-sided. She can't say her piece and then you don't say anything, because that's where I fall. If you don't say anything, it, like I said, it'll build up and it makes it 10 times worse. So I think if one partner is saying something and that partner realizes that you're not saying nothing, hey, listen, how do you feel? What's going on with you? We need to get this out, because I don't want to hear later on. Like, I think it's something that we need to address.
Because that's you.
It is me. That is me. So yeah, we both have to have a safe space, and we have to be careful how we present our issue, you know, because we don't want to turn it into a battle zone, mine's and yours and mine, and you know, and also too, when we're in a relationship and we've gone through conflict and we're getting better, please don't say your family. We're going to see your family, your parents, your people, yours, mine. Get into the habit of saying ours.
Yeah.
It's our family. You know, somebody call. Oh, here they call. It's your people. Answer the phone. No. And so
I haven't done that. I was just asking.
mean,
I'm like, wait a
You've
minute.
been a long time. Man.
Yeah.
Even I've done that. We've done it before.
Yeah.
Not in a hateful way, but it's just like, Yeah.
Because I call your parents mom and dad.
Yeah.
So
We
just
both do.
yeah, and but yeah, so we just wanted to share this because we wanted it. That last topic of talking about in-laws, we had people being like, "Wait, can you go a little bit deeper into that?" Because it's not as easy as saying you are first. And so how do we make each other first when it comes to outsiders? Because even though your family is your family, they still consider outsiders when it comes to how our dynamic. So
And so this relationship comes before anything else. I don't care what race you are, what culture you are, what your culture says you're supposed to do. Uh, you know, this trumps that.
so if your spouse is not in agreement,
Yeah.
then they have the freedom to say that, and you have to be willing to do things differently, because at the end of the day you don't want it to cost you your marriage.
No.
So I trust that when you got to trust your husband, trust your spouse. It's particularly for men, trusting them and the God that they follow. Now if they don't serve God, that might be a little hard, but anyway, so we hope that this has helped you. I would encourage you in your check-in, give you some homework this week in your weekly check-in. You can ask, is there anything that you need to share with me? Is there a space that we need to create in this moment for you to be honest? So we hope that you'll use that, you'll use those tools, and we hope that this has been a blessing to you and your marriage.
Yes. Please subscribe,
Like,
like
share.
us, share us, give us feedback. You've already done
Yeah.
it. We appreciate that. And
let us know if there's something we can help you with. We would love to share it on this platform.
I mean, hey, maybe you're not the only crazy people. There's other crazy people out there.
Yeah, he a little crazy too. So we'll see you next time on the Then Comes Love podcast. Holla.